Laugh at the cringe and learn from the crumble. This is Cringe and Crumble. Welcome back to Cringe and Crumble. I'm your host, Tanisha. And in my last episode, what's the next move when you feel the shift in dating? We talked about that moment when someone's energy changes and you feel yourself starting to spiral. The message was very simple. Pause, regulate, and come back to yourself before you react. But today, I wanted to take the conversation a little bit deeper because sometimes the hardest part isn't just noticing the shift. It's what happens after the energy changes, after the breakup, after the ending, that leaves you having more questions than answers, and also that need to always figure it out so you can finally feel settled. So today, I'm joined by someone who can really help us unpack that. Cedric Bertelli is the founder and director of the Emotional Health Institute and co-developer of Emotional Resolution, which is also known as EmRes, a neuroscience-based somatic process. Cedric, you're going to have to help me out on this. And in the episode, we're going to actually talk about closure addiction, why we get stuck chasing closure, and why the brain keeps trying to solve the pain, and how closure is often less about getting one more conversation and more about resolving the pattern inside of you. So let's just jump back into it. So Cedric, welcome to Cringe and Crumble. I'm really glad to have you here today. And before we jump in, I just love for you to introduce yourself in your own words and tell the listeners a little bit about the work that you do through the Emotional Health Institute and EmRes, because I think your lens is going to actually bring a lot of clarity to this conversation. So go right ahead.
Thank you, Tanisha, and thank you for having me in the show. I really appreciate it. To tell you a little bit about me, I was born in south of France in a tiny village where 80 people in the forest. I had a happy childhood. I was a very anxious child from the get-go. So very happy childhood and still an anxious child. I did my studies and I didn't do well at school, so I decided to study to become a chef. So I went to culinary school and I did that. And my last internship was in Vermont, Burlington, Vermont, because it was like a cooperation between my school in France and the New England Culinary Institute. And that gave me an opportunity to be hired by the Ritz-Carlton. So a year after coming to Vermont, I was hired in Half Moon Bay at the Ritz-Carlton as a chef. And I worked for the Ritz-Carlton company for many years, first in the kitchen and then as director of restaurants, director of banquets. And I quit in 2008 to study what I'm doing now, to study somatic therapy, first in France, then came back in 2011 in the USA, kept on studying, opened my practice, and then developed Emotional Resolution, or EmRes, in collaboration with, among other practitioners, Dr. Jacques Fumex, who is a gastroenterologist from the University of Lyon in France. And in 2019, we opened the Emotional Health Institute. That is a nonprofit that is operating out of the USA, France, and now Japan since 2023. And through the Emotional Health Institute, we are teaching people how emotions are made, demystifying what an emotional difficulty is, why the brain creates it, how it does create it, and how can the brain release it. And we also teach the emotional resolution methodology to therapists, cops, HR professionals, you name it. Basically, EmRes does what it says in the title, right? Emotional resolution, in the sense that we resolve, as you said earlier, debilitating emotional patterns. So all those emotions that keep on coming back and overwhelm us, we know that they're not congruent with what's happening in our life. We know they come from our past. We try to manage them, but they're still coming back. And they don't have to come back. That's what we do. We resolve them so they don't come back.
See, that's perfect. That's why I knew you were great for this episode.
Well, I do my best. But I do think that what you're talking about and what we're talking about here, it goes hand on hand. I agree.
It does. So with that, we're going to jump right into it because I want to actually start there. I want to start right after the shift, especially after like a breakup or any type of ending. A lot of us just get stuck in that needing that answer and replaying those conversations. Yeah. And I want in that closure. So for you, what is actually happening in the brain and the body in that moment then?
Well, I think it can be several things. When you were describing at first, what my mind went to is safety. When we're in a relationship, even in an abusive relationship, there is a sense of safety. Even if the relationship is toxic at the end, or if the relationship was toxic, there is a sense that even if I know I'm going to receive pain, at least I know what's coming.
Very
And that
true.
for the brain, in a strange way, I'd say, brings safety. Often the
Mm,
unknown is scarier than what we go through in a difficult relationship. So there is this
mm,
need for safety. And when you stop a relationship, even if it's from your own, it's your decision, it's still a leap into the unknown. And that's very
mm.
scary for the brain.
Oh, I always thought that, but I never could put two and two together. So this is so good that you're describing it this way. So when you describe the brain as a prediction machine, what's happening neurologically when someone gets stuck in that why loop after a shift or breakup?
Mhm. And so I would say it depends of our stories, right? For
Hmm.
example, if in my life I went through breakups several times, and the majority of them were actually healthy, so to speak, breakup, and there is some kind of, again, some safety in doing it. It's going to be sadness, it's going to be a little fear, but my previous experiences showed me that
Hmm.
I will survive it and thrive. Chances are that when I will come out of this breakup, of this relationship, I will have a time of grievance. I will be grieving what I lost, what just finished, but my brain will predict that something else is going to come up, something positive is going to come up. Now, if I have been myself through difficult breakup and I've been suffered, maybe I've been disrespected during this breakup, if it has been bad previously, my brain is going to predict that it's going to be bad. But it goes
Oh,
even further than that. If my parent broke up, right? If I'm the child of divorced parents and I witnessed, even as a young child, some kind of traumatic response from my mother or my father, that stays in me. And my own story is going to mirror, or I could say almost like my brain is going to predict what is going to happen to me based on what I witnessed during my childhood or teenagehood even.
oh, so there is a such thing as like your childhood influencing you as you get older, as that trauma. I wouldn't say, what would you say, traumatic, but any type of experience that was kind of negative
Absolutely.
that would play. Oh, this is
Abs-
interesting.
a- a- a-
I'm
Absolutely. And the brain, when it comes down to emotion, don't make any sense. Emotions do not make any sense. I can tell you how an emotional difficulty is made later. And you'll see that an emotional difficulty is made by instant of dissociations. So when the
Oh,
trauma is too high, the stress, physical, emotional, is too high,
hmm.
or repeated, such as neglect, for example. Like a neglect is not a shock, but someone who is being neglected over and over again, that's going to create a root for later, probably a debilitating emotional pattern.
Oh, so we can say that people are not irrational basically because the closure is a story that the mind is asking, but the body is literally the resolution of the process, if that makes sense,
Yes,
right?
absolutely. Yes.
And and so this is interesting because I think this is where a lot of people get confused, especially when it comes to the process of the breakup, when really they're just overthinking it from 10 different angles. So my next question for you is how do you define that processing versus rumination in the body? And what actually tells you someone is stuck? And probably you may need to define what rumination is because that's a new terminology that I'm sure our audience don't know.
Rumination is when your brain is in a loop, right?
Mm.
The brain has an idea, has a fear that keeps on coming back and coming back and coming back. And this fear or this idea is generating sensations. So it's an
Oh,
idea that generates a fear. What is a fear made of? A fear is made of physical sensations. We call that interoception. And,
oh.
and the thing is, when we go into this rabbit hole, human beings have this quality, so to speak, to build emotion upon emotion. So you have a
Mm.
fear to be alone. And then you feel shame because you're 45 and now you're alone. And then you feel guilt because you should have tried harder with your previous partner. And then you feel resentment because your father didn't show you the right example. So human beings build emotion upon emotion constantly. So it's not one emotion that is reminiscent, actually. The brain is creating emotion constantly and digging this rabbit hole over and over again. And I'm going to repeat what I said earlier, which is, you know that you feel an emotion because you feel physical sensations. That's called interoception.
Oh, so it's kind of like your emotions are basically compounding.
That's
It's just almost like money over time.
That's right. One after another. One after another.
Oh,
And
one after another.
Yep.
Oh,
and
yeah.
if I want to be even more precise, if you will, a negative thought only comes out if it generates fear. Often I take the metaphor of the hippo. You know, a hippopotamus always have birds on their back eating the parasites. Well, in this metaphor, the hippo is the fear. And the birds eating the parasites on top of the hippopotamus are the thoughts. If the thought do not create fear, the thought is going to go away very fast.
Oh, okay. I like this process. So that's why that's why people always say it's very important the way that you actually think. Because if you're having those negative thoughts, they really do come out, and it does affect the way that you communicate, the way you are in relationships, and in anything. So this is, I mean, I'm excited for learning all of this.
You know, the problem is we tell people, think positive, don't think about bad things, but the brain is not wired that way. The brain is always going to try to find what can go wrong so it can protect you, so it can be proactive. That's why the brain always goes down the negative route. It's not because it's trying to hurt us, it's because it's trying to predict all the negative scenario that might happen so you can be quote unquote ready.
Oh, I see. And to bring it back to that, you did mention interoception, right? So what's that role that it plays in stopping the loop? I think you said it, but I want to actually really identify it.
Yeah. Interoception is basically what lets you know that you feel an emotion. You know that you have anxiety or fear or anger because your body is flooded with physical sensations. That's interoception. If a thought do not reactivate an interoceptive prediction, so if a thought doesn't create this interoception, this fear, so to speak, the mind is not going to be interested in replaying it. So my job with EmRes is to release this interoceptive prediction, to make sure that the thought is not creating this physical sensation so that the thought are not coming back.
Oh, so this is good. This is good. So in layman's term, processing tends to move you toward calm and clarity, right? And acceptance. And rumination feels like that urgency, the checking and the sleeplessness and the needing to always answer, like always looking for an answer, correct?
That's right. Because it must be an answer, right? It must be an answer. The fact is, often there is no answer.
And often there is no answer. And that's such an important distinction because a lot of us don't know that. Because once you realize you're not actually processing your looping, which I think is very important, the next question becomes, how do we stop feeding it, which you kind of mentioned? Because we do continue to check. I know I would continue to check people's social media. I reread the last messages of like what's going on. And this is actually keeping, or shall I say, reopening the wound that we're trying to close. So my question to you is, why do we do that? Even though we know that I think a lot of us know that it's not healthy for us, but then some of us do think it's healthy. And why does, checking their social media keep the trigger alive, right? And what does it actually change the nervous system to do?
So it's, again, I think there's several responses to that. But what I'm going to say is there is this attachment. So we want to know. We need to know. Because if we find a reason why, let's say a breakup happened, it's going to tell us something about ourselves, right? And we want to know where the other one is as well. Also, it is when you scroll, you have those it's almost like instant reward, right? Like you have an instant physical
gratification, right? Like a gratification,
or instant pain. There's something about human beings, like you're going to look at your ex social media and you're going to see that he's like partying with his friend or something like this. And that's going to hurt you. But it's like there's something about this hurt, right? It makes you feel alive almost. There's this, it's almost an addiction to dopamine, to cortisol, to all this stuff that is, in a way, it makes you feel alive, and it makes you hurt, at the same
So
time.
interesting. Oh my goodness. And you know what? It's interesting that we're talking about this, and I'm probably jumping a little bit ahead here, but what do you say when people, we're going down this dopamine rabbit hole of like, oh, like sometimes people are very negative, like you're just hoping that their lives are falling apart, or if they're doing good, like you said, you were like, oh man, there was something about me. But they continue down that rabbit hole knowing that that person probably told them in the process of the shift that we're ending because of X, Y, and Z. But in their brain, I think they're thinking the stalking behavior or something that eventually will be seen again. Is like, why do people do that? Because I know women that do that, and you're just kind of like, there is no hope here. But in their brains, it's like, well, if he kind of sees me, or if I throw out a little comment here, he's going to come back. And I think it goes back to attachment and something that's probably I wouldn't say a daddy issue, but I don't know what that would stem from. But hopefully it wasn't too much of a rabbit hole question. But I know I have friends like that. I'm just like, leave this man alone. Like, let's move on.
It's difficult to let go, right? We all put our value in different on different system, right? If somebody breaks up with me, in a way, it means that I don't matter, and I want to matter. Right? I don't want to matter to anybody else, but to this person, I want him or her to know that I matter. I want him or her to know that, I'm the one, so to speak. There's this attachment. There is this. It's difficult to let go. There is ego as well. And there is fear. What if he was or she was the one? What if I missed it? That if that was my chance to true love and I did not catch it. So there's all those questions, and then jealousy. We are human beings. Human beings are fear-driven mammals. We feel so much fears about so many things, and we have this tendency to lean into our hurt. Right? Again, when we hurt, in a way, we feel. In a strange way, we feel alive.
That's good. That's very true. And why do you think it takes certain people longer to get over this, or even you're not getting over it? Because it's baby steps, right? It's not like a one-all end all. Which kind of brings me to the next question of how do we resolve this, and tell us more about EmRes. But why is it that it takes some people, they can be over the person in a day or two, and then other people, it could take years before they get out of this ego-driven mindset of like, that should have been me. Why is it not me? And it becomes this obsessive behavior that none of us can understand, but maybe you can talk to that.
Well, I think it depends on many things. I think it might depend on our personal history. I think it might also depend on our self-value, how we see ourselves, our self-worth, and again, fear, right? It's like, why did she leave me? What is wrong with me? I want to see it. I want to see what's wrong with me. And we go through so many different phases during breakup, right? Like self-worth, and then anger, and then hatred sometimes. And it's all based on hurt. And I think our own experiences, what we lived from childhood, is definitely influencing that.
And this is actually a perfect place for this, because it's like, what does the resolving the trigger looks like? And this is where I want you to really explain, what is EmRes and how does it differ from the traditional talk-based approaches for people?
Yeah, it's a great question. And the main difference is with EmRes, if you're looking for an answer on why do I feel this way, EmRes is not going to bring it to you. Like, this is not talk therapy. We're not going to dig into your personal history. No. EmRes is purely based on how the brain constructs emotion. And it shows us that we do not have to revisit any trauma or any personal wounds to resolve that emotion. So maybe, would you like me to tell you how an emotion is created in the brain?
That was going to be my next question.
I think it's important so we can demystify all that. So we have to have three main things in mind when it comes to emotional difficulties. The first one is that our brain predicts constantly. That's what keeps us ahead of the time. The brain is an incredible machine to predict. You can see that with anything. For example, food, right? Granny Smith apple, like those bright green apple. When you have your first one, maybe you're 5 years old, and you have your first one, so you take a big bite and you have a first experience. The acidity, the juice, the crunchiness. After this one experience, every time you're going to have an apple like this in your hand, before biting it, your brain is going to predict exactly the experience that you're about to have. It's a prediction. When you're thirsty, let's say you go work out, you come back home, you're very thirsty, you take a bottle of water, you're drinking it. It takes about 30 minutes for your body to integrate the water that you're drinking. However, at some point, you're not going to be thirsty anymore. Your brain predicts exactly how much water you need in order to quench your thirst. It's prediction again. You will see that an emotional difficulty that keeps on coming back is a prediction. No, go ahead. You have a question?
No. I was like, oh, this is gold. So keep going.
The second thing we have to remember is that the brain has a capacity to update prediction extremely fast. So people think, it takes forever to hit an anxiety or the fear. No. Actually, it happens in a matter of seconds. I'll give you an example. Again, resolving an emotion is updating a prediction. We update prediction constantly. I'll give you an example. Let's say there is a new ice cream store opening down the street. And you want an ice cream. It's a hot day in Los Angeles. So you go down there and it's a new store. So you have all the batches of ice cream, but there's no labels. So there's a pink batch, green, brown, etc. And you see the pink batch and you think, it's probably like strawberry ice cream or raspberry. And you feel like having one of those. So the person behind the counter gives you a bowl of ice cream. You go out and have a taste. And as soon as you put it in your mouth, it tastes like smoked salmon. So you were anticipating, predicting some kind of food, and then it turned into disgust because you tasted the smoked salmon. That's disgusting. How many bites do you think you need in order to know, until you're proven wrong, that the pink batch in this store is smoked salmon?
Oh, yeah, just that one.
In a matter of 1 or 2 seconds, you know forever until you're proven wrong that the pink batch in this store is smoked salmon. Not in everywhere in the world, in this store. You updated your prediction in a matter of seconds. And because this happened in a self environment, your brain is going to take this experience and apply it in every realm of your life. For example, if you go into another store 2 years later and there is no label, before buying it, you're going to ask, hey, what is that? Because your brain is going to remember what just happened. So you update and the brain apply it all across your life. That's when there is no trauma. Okay. So that's about the prediction. And now, what we understand today is to create a debilitating emotional pattern, so an emotion that keeps on coming back, at the origin is always the same type of event. It's always what we're going to call a trauma. Now, what is a trauma? A trauma is an instant that holds too much stress, physical or emotional, for us to take on at the moment when we live it. That's it.
Oh, okay. So with that being said, this brings to my next question, which is interesting because it's like, so what changes in real life when the trauma is actually resolved?
Okay, good. Can I just tell you what the trauma does?
Oh yeah. Maybe I'm ahead of myself, but I just heard trauma and
I want to make sure that I explain to you what the trauma does. So then it's easier to answer. I'm making the route simpler for me, actually.
I'm like, this is why I'm in the space I'm in, because we're making all the bad routes. This is why you're here, so you can align us and not, we're over here picking like different bite-sized pieces. So
I think you're doing
keep me aligned.
I think you're doing just fine. So at the origin is a trauma. Now, the trauma is not the problem. What creates the pattern are the instant of dissociations happening during the trauma. So to give you a few numbers, right here, you and me, consciously, we are gathering about 2,000 bits of information per second and process it consciously at a speed of 150 miles per hour. Consciously. So that's what my voice, my face, your surrounding, all this. Now, subconsciously, your brain can gather 400 billion bits of information per second versus 2,000, process at the speed of 150,000 miles per hour. So way more. Your prefrontal cortex, or my prefrontal cortex, is used, among other things, as a filter. So we're not bombarded by so many information. So when everything is good, when we are relaxed, talking together, we're filtering the information that allows us to have this conversation, to have a life in the society that we created. However, during the dissociation moment, dissociation is happening so that we don't suffer too much during the trauma, right? So we dissociate so we don't suffer too much during the trauma. Now, during dissociation, the prefrontal cortex shut down and the subconscious takes over. So during this instant of dissociation, imagine a whirlpool, meaning your brain gathering all the information happening around you in a super high, super fast definition. What you see, what you taste, the light, the temperature, the general situation. So your brain is gathering all this information at a very high speed, at a very high definition, in a non-linear, non-logical way. Just a chaos of information swallowed by your brain. And your brain is going to do the same thing with what's happening in your body. So your brain is going to record what physical sensations you're feeling in your body during those instants of dissociation. So it's like a double whirlpool of information being gathered from out and in. Later on, when you live your life and your brain recognizes one or several elements that were present during a past dissociation, your brain is going to predict instantly what physical sensations you're about to feel based on what was experienced during a specific dissociation. Those physical sensations, we call it interoception. They're the physical sensations that let you know that you feel an emotional difficulty.
Oh.
Am I with me?
Okay. I'm with you. I'm just, mine is blown. Keep going.
So it can be, for example, let's say I never met you before and I don't know anything about you. Maybe there is something, and we come across to each other in a party or in a restaurant, doesn't matter. And I come close to you. I don't know anything about you, but as I come close to you, I feel tension in my body. And that has nothing to do with you. Maybe it's because your smell reminds my brain of maybe a teacher that used to abuse me when I was a kid. Maybe the shape of your body reminds my brain of an element that was present during a dissociation. Is nothing about you. I don't know anything about you. But because there's something about you that I don't even recognize consciously, that resonate with something that was present during a past trauma, I'm going to feel the physical sensation that I felt during this past trauma. And I'm going to take those sensations and I'm going to make up a story about it. I'm going to say, well, Tanisha, I don't know about her. I don't know. There's something about her. I don't feel her. It has nothing to do with you. My brain is reacting to something that you emanate, that you recognize from a past situation where I was hurt.
So how do you not rejigger your brain, but how do you flip it to where you can disassociate that, like this particular scenario from that past scenario?
Great question. It's actually extremely simple. It's actually very simple. That's the thing. What you do is when you recognize that you're in a funk, right? Let's say I meet you, I don't know you, I feel in a funk, there is no reason. I recognize that there is no reason. So my brain is going to make up stories again, but I'm wiser now and I recognize there's no reason. So I'm going to resolve it. What I will do is, okay, I go in a place where I can close my eyes. I realize I don't feel well. First thing to do to resolve my emotion, I'm going to close my eyes. So maybe I go to the bathroom. Maybe I go in a corner and I fake looking at my phone. But I'm going to tell you how to resolve it here and now. So you see, it's quite simple. So you can try it yourself and the audience can try it. So you feel the emotional difficulty, then you realize is not congruent with your current reality. Because that's the thing, right? Most of our emotional difficulties, our fear, our breakup hurt, our anxieties are not congruent with what is actually happening now. We are overwhelmed by them, but it's not proportionate to me meeting you, for example. If I'm afraid of you, right? If you create anxiety, I can make up a story. Oh, that's because, I don't know, it doesn't matter. But it is no reason. It's not congruent. So that's why I know I'm going to resolve it, right? So I realize that I feel an emotion that I shouldn't be feeling based on what's happening to me, or at least it's too high compared to what I should be feeling, right? So what I do is I go in a place where I can close my eyes. It is most important that you can close your eyes. Not because it's not a meditation, but it's going to show you, if you can close your eyes, it's going to show you if you feel safe or not. At the Emotional Health Institute, we work with Ethologists are scientists that work with animal behavior, and we work with veterinarians. We know that the first sign of fear in any mammals is that we stop blinking.
So, that's true, because you start blinking a lot, and you're like, okay.
Yep.
Oh, okay.
So it's like if you cannot close your eyes and be at peace closing your eyes, you know that you don't feel safe. You need to move. So you find a place where you can feel safe and close your eyes. You close your eyes, and the emotion is still going on in you. The second step to resolve it, you need to move all your attention to your physical sensations.
Okay.
You need to feel the physical sensation, because those physical sensations were the physical sensation you felt maybe 10 or 20 years ago, right? Those physical sensations that are active in you in a way that just ghost of something that happened a long, long time ago to you. You've got to move your attention to your physical sensations. So the physical sensation is very pragmatic, right? It's like your heart is beating hard, or your throat is tense. Maybe you want to throw up, weakness in the arms or the legs. You want to move all your attention to your physical sensation. So instead of reacting to what you feel in your body, you're going to do the reverse. You're going to take ownership of what is happening in your body. We never do that. When we feel angry, we scream. We beat up a pillow. We distract ourselves. We never really feel how it feels in the body. Often, we throw our poison out. Now we scream. We do whatever we do based on our history and our personality to throw this tension that we feel on somebody else. Or we blame somebody else. Or we blame ourselves. But all this is cognitive. None of this. We have to go back to how an emotion is made. You feel an emotional difficulty. You know that you feel an emotional difficulty because there are physical sensations. You're going to move all your attention within. Become intimate with the way it feels in your body, maybe for the first time of your life. Now, a trick is you've got to feel at least two sensations at once. Because if you only feel one sensation, your mind has room to go AWOL, to think still. You want to move all your attention on your flesh, so there is no room for thinking.
So when you're saying you have to feel it, right? What are those people who don't really want to sit with it? Because that requires, like you said, people, they're out here, they're verbally abusing people as opposed to sitting in that space. Like, I'm at the point now, I like to, like you say, pause, reset. I have a moment to like breathe and kind of feel it out. But then there's other people who just are afraid to feel that feel. Like that's a very lonely place probably for them.
Yep.
Like, what do you say when they're like, okay, I did 2 seconds, that's enough? Or how long should you be in that space with yourself to really understand what's really going on in your body?
Okay, perfect. There's two important questions. So people who are afraid to get inside, I understand it. What we are asking them to do is counterintuitive, because you don't want to feel what's inside. That's why you're reacting. That's why you're avoiding. But those physical sensations that you keep on avoiding or reacting from, they keep on coming back because you're reacting from them. You have to understand that the reason why an emotion keeps on coming back is because you're short-circuiting this prediction. With EmRes, you will see it disappear because you replay the entire prediction. And at the end of the prediction, when your brain is expecting to be hit by some kind of danger, nothing is happening, you're safe and sound.
Oh, and so would you say, I love these steps because that was a part of my closing questions for you and what process we should go through. Oh, no. We're right on track. What was I going to say? When it's not a permanent fix, right? Once we have figured out the tools that we've probably gotten from EmRes to reset ourselves, to understand and be conscious of these emotions. So would you say it's kind of like an ongoing process, or how do you continue to be conscious of that? Because I think what usually happens, and I'm thinking back to relationships, where people bring baggage from an old relationship to a new relationship, thinking that they have healed themselves, when really they really have not. They, like you said, maybe they short-circuited, they did it for like 2 seconds and they felt good. It's like, I'm ready for this dating world. And then now it's like, no, you're not, because then you've got this person expressing to you what is happening. Like, I am not that person that you are going back to. So I know it's a loaded question or lots of questions, but how would you go about that or have them navigate that situation?
So it is not a loaded question because it's actually a permanent fix.
Oh, okay. It is.
That's a permanent fix. It's And that's the power of EmRes, which is once an emotion is resolved, it's resolved. And I'm gonna tell you why specifically, so you can try it, right? You don't have to believe me. By all means, don't believe me and try it, people. That's it. It's in the proof is in the pudding, right? It's when you feel those sensations that you don't want to feel, you move your attention in. You feel those sensations that usually you don't want to feel. You're in it completely. I call that, it's like the ultimate hero journey. We keep on fighting our fear when actually the only way to slay the dragon is to go into the belly of the dragon. And the belly of the dragon are your sensations. So once you feel your sensation, you keep your attention sharp on it. You don't think about what created them. You don't reconnect. No, inside. You're going to notice that those physical sensations are going to change in the body. They're going to evolve. So maybe your throat is going to close up and then open up. Maybe you're going to feel a big nausea or almost. Those sensations are going to change for a timing of 2 seconds to 90 seconds, never more. This is how long an emotion lasts in the brain.
Oh, so it's not like a long process, because in my brain, I'm like, it's a 7-step process, like AA, I don't know. No. But okay, it's not.
But it's important. I got to make that clear. Once you feel the sensations, even if it's uncomfortable, you do not want to interfere with them. That means no breath. So, often people take breath, no breath. If you take a breath, you're short-circuiting, you're stopping this natural interoceptive prediction. If the brain do not experience the prediction without you or somebody from your surrounding controlling it, it is not going to resolve it. If you try to control how you feel inside, or if somebody, give you a big hug and say, oh, you're going to be okay. No. It's going to take 2 to 90 seconds. But you need to feel the sensations as they change in you for as long as they change, which will never be longer than 90 seconds, until the end. When your brain can go to the entirety of the interoceptive prediction without the prediction being impacted, controlled, or shortened, at the end of the prediction, your brain realizes that at the end, when it is anticipating to be hit by something like it did years ago, nothing happened. From that very instant, your brain recognized that the trigger that triggered you, or the stimulus that used to create this interoceptive prediction, is nowadays obsolete. It is a non-event. You're not in danger. Just how your brain updated the prediction from the ice cream with earlier example, the same thing happens with emotion.
See, okay, now I need to use this like in my everyday existence in life. Yes. Even like sometimes when you think about, we get angry, we're easy to, I know I'll have a negative thought and it'll just spiral and it'll spiral. But you're right. I need to just kind of like release it, kind of sit with it and see how I feel physically and like, why am I doing this? Because
even why? I'm sorry, I'm a pain in the butt. But
no, you're not. No, this is great.
I want to make sure that you and your audience got it right. It's like when you move your attention to the sensation, you move all your attention in the flesh. Don't worry why. Don't try to take deep breath. Don't stretch. Don't blame others. No, all your attention in the body. You've got to have an intense attention, an intense curiosity to what's happening in the flesh, and feel it until it's done completely. No why, no control, no regulation. Feel it in a safe place.
Feel it in a safe place.
That's what.
So would you? And it needs to be in that moment. So like not like sitting down, trying to meditate or like, this is the moment to feel, but it has to be within that moment as it instantly happens.
That's the natural way to do it. That's what we call emotional hygiene, right? It happens, you do it in the moment. Like if you cannot do it because you're in a meeting, because you're in a public space, then that's when you go see an EmRes practitioner and they can do a session with you, or they can teach you how to do it from a memory.
Oh, okay, from a memory.
Yeah. So not a traumatic memory, but from something in your life currently where you were triggered. They're going to take this memory, trick your brain to generate the sensations, and you're going to resolve this emotion in the safety of a session.
I like that. So now everyone knows where I need to go if we can't do it in the moment, which is to go visit you, Cedric, for EmRes.
Oh, yes. Oh, the Emotional Health Institute. Yeah.
The Emotional Health Institute. No, this is really, really, really good, because I honestly think my audience and even myself and even who actually works with you, I think this is such a healthy conversation to have because we just are so bewildered about how our brain works, how the body is basically trying to signal to us and tell us what's really going on. And for you to be able to do this and open our eyes to that, I think it's amazing. And to do this for kind of free,
Yeah,
because they're not,
we're not.
you're just like here. You're here and you're telling us the tools because I was going to ask you, like, what can someone do today if they're literally spiraling in this moment of like, I'm going to send the text or this is, like, I just got to do it. And you literally laid out groundwork for them to do step by step in this very moment of how to attack that.
Yeah.
Thought.
It's about not letting yourself, you can be passive and keep on checking your phone. You can remain passive and keep on checking the social media, but then it's pure passivity. You're not in charge. You're letting yourself run by your subconscious trying to no. Don't come back at the center of your life. Do you want to feel better or do you want to keep on suffering? No. Okay, stop being passive, regain some intensity. You feel hurt, put your phone away, sit down and move your attention into what's going on in your flesh. Put yourself back at the center of your life. The other being doesn't matter at this point. It might matter again in the future, who knows? But right now, nothing good will come up if you act, react, or check things out of tension or fear. Nothing good is going to come out of it. Take responsibility of what's happening. Become the master of your inner world again. Put the phone down, sit down, move your attention in the body. Already when you do that, it's going to stop the mind to go in the rabbit hole, right? But you have to be intense into feeling and then feel what's going on in the body. It's not going to last long. And another thing I would say is, for me, emotion lay on 3 layers. Conscious emotion, which are the emotions we're aware of. Unconscious emotion, which are the emotions, if we look for them, we can find them. We don't like them because they do not fit with who we want to be in life. So the shame, the guilt, the self-image, the old resentment, all this stuff that run in the background and we don't like because they don't fit with the image we have of ourselves, of others. And then there are the subconscious fears. Subconscious fears are fears that are made out of tension, that are not strong enough to be labeled, conceptualized as an emotion. But those tension, they create the dynamic of our relationships. They create our mood and such. So if you work with an EmRes practitioner, they're going to tackle these emotions on the 3 levels so that you can be free. Because as we said at the beginning of the conversation, we start with a fear of being alone. And then the brain's going to kick in very quickly on other fears. Shame, guilt, loneliness, fear of dying, it goes very fast.
Yeah. And I think I love how you put that all together. I think one of the big things is that what you're saying is that you are in control and people need to understand you take back control and not allow someone else's words or whatever actions be what controls you and how you feel and what you're going through and this closure of what are you going to do after the shift. So it's kind of like a full circle.
That's
in
right.
a sense.
Absolutely.
Of just like, yeah.
Absolutely. You've got to put yourself back at the middle of your life. Maybe what happened to you was unfair and yeah, but at the end, it doesn't matter. What matters is you and how you can navigate this situation with more grace, with less tension, because the breakup is hard enough. Why do you need to keep on suffering? I often tell my clients, I said, literally we keep on dying from events we survived a long time ago. You keep on suffering from things you survived a long, long time ago. You survived it, for God's sake. So now you don't have to be in survival mode anymore. You can integrate this with EmRes, for example, and then integrate this information, good or bad, but live on.
I like that. So I want you to, is there something that you want everyone else to hear? Because you've tackled so many great things and I probably have jumped around, like I've said before, and I didn't mean to.
No.
But is there something else that you want people to leave with about you in the Emotional Health Institute, EmRes, and then I'll allow you to, tell people where you can find, whether you can find you at, but what is like your parting words for everyone? Like if they don't listen to anything in this whole conversation that we had, which I think was great, I will be rewatching this, by the way. What would you like for them to leave with, like your parting?
always question your pain, in the sense that it is not because you've been feeling a certain way for a long, long time, anxious, afraid, angry. Question your pain, your emotional reaction, and know that it's not because something has been with you for a long time that you cannot resolve it. Any emotion that keeps on coming back, you can resolve, old or new. Also, often we think, oh, I'm an anxious person. It is my personality. I'm an angry man. That's my person. That doesn't exist. Angry men or angry women do not exist. Anxious man or woman doesn't exist. We are only afraid. The anger, the anxiety is just a consequence to fear. So do not judge your frustration, your jealousy, your anger, but don't think it's you, because it's not true. Something that happened to you opened up in you having this behavior. So question that as well, and learn to feel this emotion before reacting out of it. If you feel this emotion before reacting out of it, you'll be able to resolve it, but you have to feel it in your body. Stop blaming. So maybe something happened to you, it was really bad. I'm not saying that you have to forgive everything. No, but do not let it run your life anymore.
You got to have a little empathy and patience with yourself.
100%.
I think, and a lot of people, we just don't have that for ourselves. We have it for everyone else. And I love how you just put that all together. So with that being said, where can everyone find you, Cedric? Because hopefully everyone's going to want to come and see you and everyone that you work with. This is going to be, I think, amazing for people.
For more information, the best is to go to emotionalhealthinstitute.org, or they can also go to EmRes, EmRes.com. It goes to the same place. And there you will see the science behind the work. You will see the courses we offer, we teaches, and every month, several times a month, actually, people offer self-EmRes courses. So where they teach audiences how to do this work on themselves, by themselves. And it's like free or a couple of bucks. It's very low cost. We also train therapists, coaches, how to do EmRes with their clients and their patients, so they can bring this work into their practice. And yeah, come and.
Well, that's good. Well, thank you. Well, I want to just give you a personal thank you for being on Cringe and Crumble, because I just love your perspective. And this is something that I should have tackled a long time ago. And timing's always everything. And this is the best time that it's now. So once again, thank you so much. And this is for the audience and anyone else who is ever going through this type of relationship breakup or whatever it shall be. I want people to take away that you do have those type of tools that can be given to you or be taught to you from the Emotional Health Institute. And just know to be patient and empathetic with yourself, because sometimes our biggest critic is ourselves, and it's what's really holding us back, as opposed to you thinking it's someone else. So hopefully I will see you guys next time, and everyone enjoyed Cringe and Crumble. And thank you once again, Cedric, for being here.
Thank you for having me. I really appreciate it. Thank you.
You're so welcome. All right, that was the end. Laugh at the cringe, learn from the crumble. This is Cringe and Crumble. Until next time.